Before Salto ever deploys any changes, it first stages those changes in a preview state. This preview gives us an opportunity to review and adjust the changes before they reach the target environment. When we connect our Salto environment to a Git repository, we can then take advantage of the Git provider's pull request and branch protection capabilities to enhance our deployment approval processes. To set this up, navigate to Settings, Version Control, and ensure deployment protection via Salto PRs is enabled. And while this setting is enabled, Salto will associate every deployment we create with a pull request in Git. Any changes we make to the deployment in Salto will be pushed to Git and reflected in the corresponding pull request. Any changes we make outside of Salto and pushed to Git will be reflected in the deployment. This gives us flexibility in how we implement our changes. When a connected deployment reaches the preview stage, Salto generates two branches in our repository, a Salto before branch and a Salto after branch. Any adjustments we make will be reflected in the after branch. Any relevant branch protection rules should be applied to the before branch. If a deployment is connected to a pull request, the pull request must be mergeable in order for the deployment to be deployable. Most Git providers have branch protection features that prevent merging until certain conditions or requirements are met. Because Salto does not allow deploying while a pull request is not mergeable, these same conditions and requirements are enforced on our deployments as well. One common requirement is to require a minimum number of approvers on a pull request. It's so common that GitHub provides a branch protection rule for it out of the box. In your GitHub repository, navigate to Settings, Branches, and add a new pattern to match Salto's before branches. Within our new pattern, ensure that Require a pull request before merging is enabled, and Require approvals is enabled and set to 1. You can peruse the other branch protection rules available and tailor them to your organization's needs. A crucial piece to understand here is that our deployments cannot be deployed until the corresponding pull request can be merged. Any checks, validations, or rules that we enforce on the pull request carry over and apply to our deployments as well. With all of these settings in place, we now have an approval gate established on all Salto deployments. With our environment connected to Git and requiring a pull request, let's create a deployment to see our approval gate in action. In Salto, I will set up a deployment from my dev2 environment to my dev3 environment. The contents of the deployment aren't critical for learning, so I will arbitrarily choose a JavaScript file to deploy. Once I click the preview button, Salto will generate a new pull request in my connected repository. We can click straight through to see it. And because we set our branch protection rules to require approval, we see our pull request is not mergeable. In Salto, that is reflected in the fact that the deploy button is disabled. If we hover over the button, the tooltip tells us the corresponding pull request is not ready. With the pull request created, we are free to review, comment, approve the pending changes. Once the pull request is approved, it becomes mergeable, which then enables us to deploy in Salto. Now, there are many other checks or validations we might add to our branch protection rules, and Salto will respect them all, disallowing deployment until we've met all requirements.